We'll start with the prayer. Sahana Vavatu.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10. We'll chant from verse number 9 to 15.
मच्चित्ता मद्गतप्राणाः बोधयन्तः परस्परम् कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यम् तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकम् ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थः ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवमजं विभुम् आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे सर्वमेतदृतं मन्ये यन्मां पतसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिम् विदुर्देवान दानवाः स्वयमेवात्मनात्मानं वेत्थत्वं पुरुषोत्तम भूतभावनभूतेश देवदेव जगत्पते
Last week we concluded with verse number 8. And just to understand the thought flow from verse 8, 9, and 10. So in 8th verse, he is giving us general preparation, which is a foundation of spiritual life, spiritual practices. In the 9th verse, he gives real sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice. And the 10th verse, he talks about the effect of spiritual practices. So as you progress in the spiritual path, you gain more concentration, and that concentration turns into contemplation. Your spiritual goal comes into sharp focus. That's what we mean by contemplation. Doesn't matter where you are, what you are doing. And as you continue your journey, it concludes in a state of meditation. So, meditation is a single pointed pursuit of the supreme reality. So, it's the ultimate state before self realization. And through meditation, seeker merges with the divinity. So, that's the general thought flow in verse number 8, 9, and 10. And last week we discussed verse number 8 in detail. I am the origin of all. I'm just reading the translation and will recap one or two main points. So the translation reads, I am the origin of all. From me, everything evolves. I, me meaning supreme reality. Understanding thus, the wise worship me, endowed with devotion. So, what we learn here that microcosm and macrocosm is nothing but expression of one reality. But you and I are experiencing a pluralistic world of objects and beings where there is one homogeneous reality. So, wise people understand this. When he says, wise worship me, meaning they understand this truth and they put consistent efforts to get to the source, which is the self, the supreme reality. And how they put consistent efforts, so they channelize all their activities to reach the goal. Your goal, spiritual goal, could be relative, it could be absolute. Formula is same. So what can you channelize? Your perception, your action, your emotion, and your thought. So there has to be alignment of perception, action, feeling, and thought with your goal. A student who is highly focused, a university student who is fired with the ideal of I want to get my PhD, he has to align his entire personality to pursue that goal. You could be fired with ambition, aspiration in your own profession. So your perception, action, feeling, and thought has to align with that goal. So the formula is same. So therefore, when he says, wise worship me, meaning where are your thoughts? Doesn't matter what you do. Often we keep on saying this because there is such a misconception, a lot of misconception that this is spiritual field, this is worldly field, worldly path. There is no such thing. Where are your thoughts? So how do you align your thoughts with your spiritual goal is by your consistent association with this knowledge. Gradually, your thoughts will shift. It's not going to happen suddenly, isn't it? You can't suddenly turn Titanic. That's what caused the accident. They could see the iceberg, but it requires, I don't know, tremendous amount of distance to maneuver that, to take that turn. So similarly, we all are carrying our desires from past. That momentum is so much. And where are our desires going? So most of us, our thoughts, our desires, they are going towards the world because we haven't put efforts. But as you start putting efforts, slowly but surely your thoughts will turn towards your spiritual goal. So therefore, that statement, where are your thoughts at this moment? Ask yourself. So these were the main points in verse number 8. So I just recapped. So are we okay with this verse? Verse number 9, please.
मच्चित्तामद्गतप्राणाः बोधयन्तः परस्परम् कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यम् तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च मच्चित्तामद्गतप्राणाः बोधयन्तः परस्परम् कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यम् तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च.
Translation: those with mind in me, with pranas, meaning life's activities, absorbed in me, enlightening one another, and always speaking of me, they are contented and delighted. Tushyanti Ramanti. So, again, the thought flow continues from the previous verse. Make sure every perception, action, feeling, and thought is taking you towards your spiritual goal, towards supreme reality. So, what has happened to all of us is we have wandered away from the supreme reality. Though it is our original nature, at this moment we don't know what it is. So, we have slipped away from it. We have wandered away from our original nature. And what has happened that we are entangled in the world. It's a question of more or less. Some people are entangled too much. Some people are relatively okay. But everybody is entangled, having lost our identity. So how do we get entangled in the world? With perception, action, feeling, and thought. Formula is same. Somebody may be completely entangled at the level of perception. Another person may be entangled at the level of action. Another person may be entangled at the level of emotions. Another person may be entangled at the level of intellect, meaning ideas and ideologies. So we all are caught up in this web of worldly perception, action, feeling, and thought. So the same perception, action, feeling, thought, PAFT, we have to use to come out of this entanglement. So, how you do that? Everything has to be oblated to the ultimate goal. Stick to the example of a student. A student who is focused on what he wants to achieve has to oblate whatever he or she does to the goal. I need that PhD. I want to do well in my school or in my course. So same formula applies for all of us. Is this action going to help me to achieve my goal? You have to ask yourself this question from time to time. If answer is yes, please continue with that action. I am entertaining a particular emotion. Is it going to help me to achieve my spiritual goal? If you feel it is not conducive, then you need to be aware of it and you need to work on it. Similarly, what thoughts, what ideas and ideologies you are entertaining, are they in line with your spiritual goal? Is this class going to help me in my spiritual evolution? Ask yourself. If you feel it is going to help you, then you have to continue with sincerity, devotion, and consistency. So, from time to time, you should check whether your activities, your lifestyle is in line with your spiritual goal. You don't have to do it every day, but once in a while you need to take stock, you know. So therefore we say spiritual growth is not a part-time pastime. It's a full-time awareness of our life's mission. Life's mission could be the ultimate goal, or it could be even a relative goal. I want to become a better human being. So you cannot do it part-time. Whatever you do, you have to keep on fine-tuning that. Every perception, action, feeling, and thought, you have to fine-tune with this knowledge. So it's not a part-time, pastime spiritual growth. It's that most constant awareness, most constant reminder of what we want in life. And then he gives practical tips, and in the end, he gives two parameters against which we can compare ourselves. So, how should we do that? First is oblate everything to the spiritual goal. Then the second interesting concept here is enlightening one another, and always speaking of me. So when he says enlightening one another, see, what are you discussing when you meet people? Starting with your family. I'm not talking about colleagues. Of course, with colleagues, we will discuss office work. But outside office, if you meet them, what are you discussing? So start with your family. What are you discussing with your family? What are you discussing with your friends? What are you discussing with your relatives? So are you discussing positive things or negative things? You need to ask yourself this question. So if it is negative, then it is out. How can you enlighten each other with negative talk? To get the point. So what are you discussing? Ask yourself. Is it gossip? Is it politics? Okay, to a certain extent, how can you not discuss? But are you putting others down just because they have whatever views, ideas, and ideologies? So ask yourself this question. What am I discussing when I meet people? See, this is the reason, this is the extension of the point. We do these public lectures, it's in line with what we are discussing in this verse. See, where people, it's not possible, it's not that easy for an ordinary person to get exposed to this knowledge. So therefore, we do these public lectures from time to time. If you ask me, the amount of energy and time we spend, I can't do it alone. There's a whole team here, at least 5 to 6 volunteers. Day in and day out, they are working. So what is the purpose? So we want the local community, we want them to expose to this knowledge, enlightening one another. That is another meaning of that. And then he says, speaking of me. Speaking of me meaning intellectual discussion, not to become scholars. Intellectual discussion on Vedanta, on scriptures, understood. So when you discuss this, it could be with your own family members, it could be with your relatives or whoever, or in a discussion forum. We have discussion forums here. I think every Wednesday they get together and they discuss these concepts. And that's what even Bhagavad Gita is telling us. So it's not that we want to become scholars of Bhagavad Gita or Vedanta, but when you talk, when you discuss, you gain clarity. See, otherwise it's not easy, it's because these concepts are so subtle. So when you explain something, when you discuss something, you gain clarity. As you speak, you gain more clarity. That is number one. Number two, you learn from others. In a group, if there are 8 or 10 people and one person he asks a question, so let's say 3 people answer his question. So there are 3 different views. So on my own, I can only exercise my intellect. But when I am listening to, let's say, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, I have the advantage of listening to their views. Sometimes it's amazing, wow, I mean, what a point. I never thought on those lines. So when you discuss these concepts, this knowledge, number one, you gain clarity. Number two, you learn from each other. And number three, it helps you to stay focused. So that's what you're thinking, even during the week, that question may be at the back of your mind. So these are the main points as far as speaking of me is concerned. And elsewhere in the scriptures in Mundokopanishad, he says, desist from all other talk. Anya vacha vimashyate. Desist from all other talk. Anya vacha vimuchyate. Why are you unnecessarily discussing about worldly things? He said, desist from all other talk. Their wedding, what happened, their somebody else's life, what is happening, what we got to do with that. He says, desist from all other talk. It's a very famous statement. So if you put together all these points which we discussed just now, you need to tie yourself to a schedule. That's the thought flow which is emerging. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, action, devotion, knowledge. We all need these three. So early in the morning, you get up, you study. Many of you are doing that. So that takes care of your jnana yoga, your study. Then you go out, you start working in the world, in your own profession. That is service. Certain amount of devotional practices that varies from person to person. Can't be same for everybody. And in addition to that, if you participate in discussion forums which we have created here, or it could be your own discussion, doesn't matter, as long as it is supervised by a qualified teacher. That is important. I'm not saying I'm the only person who is qualified. I mean, there could be somebody else also. But as long as you are focused on what is being taught in the class, that structured discussion. So that's what we have created here. All these discussions, they are supervised, they are monitored. So all these put together gives you a solid schedule to follow. And when you have a schedule to follow, you automatically stay focused. Are you getting the link? See, otherwise, what will you do? If there is no discussion forum, you can't have it every day, but there is something to look forward to. At least 1 or 2 days in the week, your study is taken care of. Otherwise, you will watch TV, go to a friend's place, or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But then, when are you going to be consistent in your spiritual practices? So, enlightening one another, speaking of me, oblating all your actions to the ultimate goal. So you need a schedule to follow. And when you're on the right path, somebody may say, yes, I'm doing all these things. Excellent, great. Such a person is contented and delighted. So these are the two powerful tests he is giving. Tushyanti meaning contented and Ramanti meaning delighted. So you find out whether this applies to you. So when he says contented meaning not unnecessarily complaining about the world. There are people who are all the time grumbling, all the time they are complaining about each other, about about weather, about politics, about corruption. Everything bothers them constantly. There is no contentment. It's a state of agitations. Everything disturbs you. Now, why everything disturbs you? Why everything troubles you? Because there is no feeling of oneness, and there is too much of involvement in the world. See, would you keep complaining about your own children? I'm magnifying so that you can understand the concept. How horrible my daughter is, how horrible my son is. Even as I speak, you know, some of you may say, "What example you are giving?" Though you may understand, yes, correction may be required, and you may do it as a parent. Why not? But you will not keep complaining. Why? Because there is feeling of oneness. So similarly, when you have that feeling of oneness with the whole world, how can you go on complaining? Yes, certain things are not conducive. Some people may be selfish, some people may be unrighteous, but they are ignorant. So that's the stance any wise man takes, any wise person takes. So find out, compare yourself against this quality. Are you contented? And if it is not so, it is because of lack of oneness. There is no identification and too much involvement in the world. Now, who won which election, and all this. Fine, it's not that we don't know anything. I mean, does it really matter? Or you do whatever you have to do and get out. It's like a dreamer is constantly discussing the dream world events. See, that's the thought flow in this chapter. you know and what is the main point here in this chapter? See, all these points, they are interconnected. If a dreamer is grumbling, complaining, about the dream experiences, dream happenings, dream events all the time, over and over again, what it shows?
For him, the dream is real world.
Totally lost in the dream. Correct. Very good answer. So here we are talking about the world is nothing but the supreme reality. Fine, we can't experience that. It's a very high state. But as we start getting established in this knowledge, automatically it should show in our thinking, isn't it? So if you are not contented, too much involved in the world, is a sign of ignorance. So this is how you can compare yourself against that quality, tushyanti, meaning contented. And the second quality he talks about is ramanti, delighted. Delighted meaning self-sufficiency. It's a very powerful tool to find out your spiritual growth. More evolved you are, less dependent you are on the world. If you are ignorant, then you are totally dependent on the world. You need world all the time to entertain you. Otherwise, you cannot be happy at all levels of your personality. You cannot remain without not doing anything. That is another way of explaining. Constantly, you have to interact with people, you have to socialize, you have to attend functions, you have to go for parties. We're not against it. See, you may be with people all the time, but you're not dependent on the company. You get the difference. That is different from you need company, otherwise, you cannot manage. So that shows. So if not company, you have to watch TV 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it may be, or you have to be on the social media. You cannot remain with yourself. So that's the test of self-sufficiency in this context. So we often give this story, Swamiji's favorite example. So he talks about a temple and there is a sage in that temple. A famous temple and the sage has been there for a long time, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And people are coming to meet that sage more than to visit a temple. The true Mahatma he was. So after a long time, the owner of the temple came and he saw this gentleman. He was sitting under the tree on the temple campus. So he called the security, and he asked him, what is he doing here? I mean, I never gave him permission to be here. He said, sir, I mean, he's a Mahatma, he's a highly evolved person. So how can we tell him to leave? He said, okay, I will take care of it. So he was gathering people, and it took him half an hour, 45 minutes. And he got so restless. And in the meantime, that person knew that he was about to be evicted from the campus. So he said, I'm just writing something. So I need like for approximately an hour. So can you wait for that time? He said, okay. So this owner of the temple got so restless during that time, 45 minutes, 1 hour. And then he asked his staff, you said this gentleman has been living here for past 10, 12 years. He has to be a Mahatma. Do you get the point? What do you learn from this? I see a lot of blank faces. What do you learn from that?
The sage is self-sufficient, doesn't need anything.
Yeah, correct. But there is something else. We are not that saint. So the comparison is for you and me.
And we get agitated, in 45 minutes, we can't stand a situation.
40, 45 minutes, 1 hour, he could not stay there without doing anything. And that man had been there for whatever, 10 years, 12 years. Now you apply this formula to yourself. See, every year we know we have this Vedanta Academy experience, which is exclusively meant for study class students and e-learners. So twice a year, a group goes. 30, 40 people go from Detroit and New Jersey every year. Jan, many of you are going. So in July, which is like just few months back, so 3 or 4 people, they came to me. I won't mention the name. Fortunately, not from Detroit group. That much I can tell you. So that doesn't mean they have become Mahatmas, but they came to me and they said, and we keep them busy from 4:15 in the morning till 9 o'clock, 9:30, and good food also. That's not regular food which we eat. So it's like it's a fun time in a way. But between 11:30 to 1 o'clock, the lunch is at 1:15, 1.5 hours, there is a gap. So 2 or 3 people, they came to me and they said, Amesh, we can't, we need some work. We need some work, this is not enough. So can you suggest something? So of course I suggested, why don't you go to the office and go to the kitchen and find out. So the point here is 1.5 hours you cannot remain without doing anything. Do you get the point? So that shows your spiritual status. And somebody had told him, somebody from them only, their colleague, No, you guys are so dynamic, you know. So I could not put it in a negative tone, but it's not. Yes, they're dynamic, but it is lack of self-sufficiency. Are you with me? And there are young boys and girls from all over the world who are staying there for years and years. I mean, I know some students, 15 years, 20 years they have been there. Personally, I spent almost 7 years there. So, what is your self sufficiency? You ask yourself this question. And when it is really pronounced, when you're not self sufficient at all, then you could get into serious trouble in life, like depression and whatnot. So, ask yourself, what is your level of self sufficiency? Just practice 1 week. You do not initiate any contact with the world, and you may contact the world every day. That is okay if you have to, but on your own you do not initiate any contact. How often do you call your children? I'm not going to ask. Swamiji's very favorite question. People, they go, "Hey, only to close people they will ask this question, not to anybody, and to educate them." There are parents who call their children, forget about every day, morning, evening. I'm not saying you should not call, but practice by at least 1 week you don't initiate the contact. Then, as you get hang of it, you can stretch it to 2 weeks. If you are comfortable with 2 weeks, you can stretch it to 3 weeks, like that. Otherwise, every day, every weekend, you have to socialize. Again, nothing wrong in contacting people. Do not misunderstand. You may be in company all the time, but you are not dependent on the company. That's the test of what?
Self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency. I'm on my own because I cannot get along with anybody.
Yeah.
That's not a point. Anywhere you go, you're like a bull in a china shop because of your ego. We're not talking about that. You may be a social butterfly, possible, but also you're not dependent on anything. When I say social butterfly, as far as others are concerned, life of any gathering or a party or whatever. So we're not saying you don't interact, we're not saying you don't enjoy, but are you dependent on that? Ask yourself this question. So these are the two powerful parameters to find out what? To what extent you are evolving spiritually. The first test is what?
How content you are.
How content you are. And second,
self-sufficiency. How
self-sufficiency. Excellent. And when you say content, meaning?
You can be by yourself. You don't need the world to entertain you all the time.
Yeah, correct. That is self-sufficiency. Excellent. But I'm talking about like contented. When are you content? Free of mental agitations internally.
When you're not involved in the world too much.
When you're not involved in the world too much. Excellent. And what else?
When you feel oneness.
Yeah, the oneness.
Excellent. When you feel one with others, when you identify with others. So two powerful parameters. Verse number 10, please.
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकम् ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते.
Translation: To those ever steadfast, worshipping me with love, I give the Buddhi Yoga, union by intellect, by which they come to me. So, verse number 8 and 9, he gave us spiritual practices. Now, in 10th, he is talking about the ultimate effect of these spiritual practices. So, what is that ultimate effect? That when you are established, truly established in the spiritual path, when bulk of your desires are gone, your mind is available for contemplation and eventually meditation. You get the sequence. First, you gain concentration as you start offloading your desires. Whatever you do in life, you have concentration. When I'm talking to you right now, I have to have concentration. When you're listening to me right now, you have to have concentration. When you're doing whatever job you're doing in your own profession, you need that concentration. But if your mind is inundated with desires, then you won't have concentration. Worry, anxiety, your mind will be all over the place. So, here is talking about a highly evolved seeker who has reached a state of not only contemplation but meditation. So mind is absolutely calm. Why mind is calm? Because it is free of what?
Agitation.
Desires.
It is free
Desires.
of desires. Desires are gone, practically gone. So the mind is available. Desire-ridden mind, forget about contemplation or meditation, is not available even to pursue a spiritual path, isn't it? Consistently, I'm talking about. Again, ask yourself this question: how many of you are consistent? It's not to challenge yourself something, just to know whether you're on the right path. Good many people, they cannot be consistent because their mind is not available. It is full of mental agitations. So a desire-ridden mind goes all over the place and is not available to follow a spiritual path, much less contemplation and meditation. So here is talking about a person who has reached a state of single-pointed concentration. That is meditation. Meditation is nothing but your mind has been reduced to just one thought flow, one thought. It has converged to just one thought, the thought of Supreme Reality. And intellect is observing that thought in meditation. That is meditation. So in meditation, you are chanting Om. You could chant anything. It's just a symbol of Supreme Reality. So your mind is chanting Om. That Om represents the last thought of Supreme Reality. And your intellect has to monitor that chant. So you chant Om, then there is a gap, silence. There is Om, then there is silence. So that's what is happening. So your intellect is observing the chant. And in the peak of the chanting, you stop the chant. When you stop the chant, there is no more mind. Well, that's the last thought. And when the mind is gone, intellect also is gone, because the last pair of thought which intellect is observing in meditation is sound silence, Om silence, Om silence. So that's the role of the intellect. I'm not getting too much into the technical explanation, but that's the meaning of the word Buddhi Yoga. So intellect plays a major role in meditation. This is what you need to understand. If intellect is not present in meditation, then it's not meditation. Mind is going on its own. It may go towards a mantra, it may go towards an idol, it may go towards whatever. So, in fact, it is a mental disorder. It's not a spiritually. You're not such a person is not spiritually evolved. It is called as trance. I'm sure some of you must have heard that word. That mind on its own, it goes. So, in meditation, intellect plays a major role. So, the role of the intellect is to monitor the mind. And the same intellect you need throughout your life to monitor your mind. Now, not only in meditation. But what is the problem with you and me? And I say you and me, meaning people who have desires. Why we keep on generating more and more desires? What is the reason? When we all understand, I'm talking about this group, that our mission in life is to eliminate our desires, right? Human being minus desires equals divinity. We all know that. But what is the problem? What could be the problem? Why can't you reduce your mind to a single pointed thought, which is meditation? I'm not saying nobody has reached that state. It's possible that few people are at that level, but I'm talking about like most of us. Why can't we converge our thought flow to a single pointed thought? Single pointed thought is meditation. That's the definition of meditation.
Our intellect
have a
is
lot of
weak and cannot control the
a lot of
mind's
desires to fulfill.
desires.
Mm-hmm.
The intellect is not developed.
Right? Both answers are correct. We succumb to mind's desires. Why do we succumb to mind's desires?
Because we're too involved in the world.
Because we are too involved in the world, correct? But then why?
Intellect is too weak.
Intellect is too weak. So what you need is a relatively powerful intellect to supervise your mind, manage your mind. If intellect is weak, then your mind will overpower your personality. You will be victimized by your own desires, and most people are victimized by their own desires at all levels of their personality. Because intellect is weak. Why intellect is weak? They are not putting enough efforts to build their intellect. So the thought flow keeps on diverging. You get the point. Intellect is thought flow converges. So therefore, intellect plays a major role in our spiritual evolution right from the beginning and also in the end. So therefore, he uses that word, Buddhi Yoga. I give the Buddhi Yoga by which they come to me. Meaning you need to use your intellect. You need to build your intellect to monitor your mind on day-to-day basis. And also the same intellect plays a huge role in the seat of meditation. So to those, now you read the verse, it makes sense. To those ever steadfast, worshipping me with love, I give Buddhi Yoga, union by intellect, by which they come to me. So that's the thought flow. Verse number 8, 9, and 10. And then verse number 11, he continues. We'll chant verse number 11, please.
तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थः ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थः ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता.
Out of mere compassion for them, dwelling as self, I dispel the darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. So, out of sheer compassion, Krishna is saying, I am talking to the humanity. There is a message in this for all of us. See, personally, he has no agenda. He is neither interested in talking to Arjuna nor is interested in the outcome of the war. That's the backdrop of Bhagavad Gita. But out of sheer compassion, he is talking to Arjuna. Arjuna meaning to all of us. So a true master does not want anything from us. Why doesn't want anything from us? Because he is paripurna. He's totally self-sufficient. He is enjoying in that peace. He's enjoying in that bliss. But for you and me, he is taking the trouble of educating us. It's fascinating. See, the practical application is even when we try to educate people, why don't you organize these talks? Many of the volunteers here, they will know what I'm talking about. It is extremely difficult for them to convey this message that we do not want anything. You can talk to, I don't know, Shruti, you can talk to Radha, you can talk to Jigar, you can talk to Vijay. I'm just 3-4 names I'm seeing them. You can talk to Lakshmi ji and Shailesh bhai. We don't want anything. It is extremely difficult for people to understand that we don't want anything. You get the point. Because people are so used to when you contact somebody, most people they have some agenda. Otherwise, why would you contact anybody? When A contacts B, usually A wants something from B. So in this case, A contacts B, A doesn't want anything. So B cannot understand that A doesn't want anything. There are no ulterior motives. And then why are we contacting? Sheer compassion. I'm trying to give you the practical explanation of it. Otherwise, how do we understand this? So similarly, out of sheer compassion, identification, feeling of oneness, you must contact the world, which includes your family members, which includes your colleagues, which includes your community, which includes your society, which includes the nation, that genuinely you don't want anything. You can't fake it. You genuinely don't want. You want to serve others. You may not get the opportunity to serve, but you have that feeling, you have that attitude. And whenever there is opportunity, you share it. If you have extra wealth, would you not share it with people? If you have extra clothes, would you not share it with others? If you have a knowledge of particular field like medicine or law, there are people who need that service. So how can you not share that knowledge? See, otherwise you say, okay, I made money at the age of 50, 55, I want to retire. See, that is why we keep on telling people, you have a talent. Everybody has a talent. Everybody is unique. So go on serving the community with your talent as much as possible. When the body does not cooperate, then what do you do? So why you have to go on sharing your knowledge? Out of sheer what?
Compassion.
or sheer compassion. I don't have knowledge of medicine, so I need help. Uncle Sachdeva, I mean, there could be many more doctors out of sheer compassion for us. I mean, how can he retire? It's not that he's trying to retire. I'm just giving you an example. So similarly, how can you not share this knowledge? The knowledge of the scriptures, the knowledge of Vedanta, because everybody is suffering. The whole America, they're talking about mental wellness, mental wellness. What is mental wellness? It is lack of this knowledge. So how can you not share this knowledge out of sheer compassion? So it applies in all facets of our life, the concept, compassion. So you need to develop that attitude of compassion, meaning you genuinely don't want anything from others. You want to serve others. That is the meaning of that word. And then the second part of the word verse, he says, I dispel the darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. So it is poetry. It means the knowledge of self, the knowledge of Vedanta, the knowledge of the scriptures removes our ignorance. We all are ignorant. And that ignorance is created by who? We are ignorant of divinity. We are ignorant of our original nature. That ignorance is created by who?
By ourselves.
By me, by you, by ourselves. How? By your own past indiscriminate desire and actions. You have created layers and layers of desires. And these layers and layers of desires, it is obscuring the divinity in you and me. So due to your own past indiscriminate desire-ridden actions, a desire may pop up and it may consume your entire personality. At any level, it is happening. It's a question of more or less. A desire for wealth comes. There is nothing wrong in earning wealth. You can't survive. You cannot sustain without wealth. But that desire can become an obsession. And after that, there is no logic, there is no reason. How much is enough? Is 1 million enough? Is 100 million enough? Is half a billion enough? Is 1 trillion enough? I mean, we don't know. The entire personality is consumed by that. You can't reason, you cannot think. The entire mind is clogged after that. Somebody may say, no, I don't have a weakness for wealth. Fine. It could be for family. Again, nothing wrong with family. It's a beautiful institution. But you may become totally obsessed with your family, children and grandchildren, and I don't know what all. And it consumes your entire life. You're not available. You can't talk to a person who is under the influence of his or her desires. It could be wealth, it could be family, it could be power, it could be name, fame, it could be acquisition, it could be indulgence. It starts on the age of 17, 18, or even earlier than that. And it goes on till you are 70, 75, 85, 90. There is no end to cruise after cruise, cruise after cruise, this after that, party after party. We're not saying you should not contact the world. It's not you should not enjoy the world. I'm talking about being consumed by the desire. Do you get the difference? So it completely clogs your entire personality. And you stay put in ignorance. That's the outcome. So you cannot talk to desire-ridden people because they are not available to receive this knowledge. It applies to all of us. To the extent we are under the influence of a desire, to that extent, we are not available to receive this knowledge. It's not that we are free, relatively free, you can say. So therefore, you have to analyze your desires, prominent desires in life. Why are you chasing them? What are you going to get out of that? Wealth, ask yourself, why do I need wealth? How much wealth do I need? I'm giving you a simple example. Family, yes, I need family. I need to contact family, but to what extent? What am I going to get out of this outcome? Any relationship is temporary. Nobody is going to come with you. This is the outcome. So you ask yourself. Another person may be interested in name, fame, reputation. He may be victimized by that desire. Start investigating, start analyzing. Why am I chasing name, fame, reputation? It's not easy. Why it is not easy? Because you're already under the influence of that desire. Your mind is clogged. I'm giving you certain tips so that you can start investigating. And the state of perfection is described as a state of desirelessness. That's the state we all are aspiring for as a seeker. So if you are completely consumed by a desire or a bunch of desires, I mean, what desirelessness are we talking about? So therefore, it is a lifelong exercise, investigating your desires. And once you gather these desires, it's very difficult to come out of it. It's like obesity. Like, how do you put on weight? It's not that one fine day you got up in the morning and boom, 30 pounds extra. It doesn't happen that way. How did you put on weight?
Gradually.
Gradually. Every morsel we put on weight. And once you cross the barrier, don't get scared. I'm just giving you this as an example. You put on 25, 30, 40 pounds extra. It's not easy after that. I mean, in theory, you can anytime come out of it, but then you stay put there. Then you don't want to put efforts. It's not easy. Exactly same thing is happening at the desire level. Morsel by morsel, bit by bit, perception, action, feeling, thought. We are accumulating these desires, and certain desires are very, very pronounced. I just gave example. It could be wealth, it could be family, it could be name, fame. So you find out what's happening. So only with this knowledge you can be aware of this and you can gradually overcome it. So that's the meaning of that word. I dispel darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. Fortunately, the beauty of knowledge is doesn't matter what you have done in the past. Even if you are loaded, meaning really loaded, inundated with desires, with this knowledge you can wipe out these desires. It doesn't take time. So that's the positive note. So anyway, let's conclude for today. And from next verse number 12, Arjuna's question starts. So it's spread over, I think, almost 7 verses. That is topic 2. So before we conclude, there is announcement. Radha?
Hari Om. In 2 days, we have our annual 2-part public lecture series by Amitji
Oh, 2 days. Monday and
of
Tuesday.
spiritual wellness. The lecture will be held at Bharatiya Temple Original Prayer Hall in Troy. It will be on Monday, November 10th and Tuesday, November 11th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and the doors close by 6 p.m. So it will be good if you can arrive, if you're planning to attend, by 5:45 p.m. There is ample parking available in the temple grounds. This is a wonderful opportunity for all the local class members who have not been to a public lecture or listened to Amiji in person, to come and attend it. And it's a wonderful chance to introduce your family and friends in Michigan, in the local area, to the Vedanta philosophy. Please feel free to forward the invitation that you might have received on email or WhatsApp to anyone who might be interested. There will be no online broadcast or recording of the event. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
I saw an email. I'll just take 1 minute. Email from Monica Williams. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, so Monica is saying that email that she would like to drive all the way to Detroit from Ohio. I won't recommend because weather is going to be crazy from tomorrow, right? See, because you're attending these classes, so there is no comparison between study class and public lecture. I mean, this is like 10 times more concentrated. But there is a role of public lecture. The role is the local students, they want to educate the local community with this knowledge. So there is an opportunity for all of us to get together and spread this knowledge. So you will not miss anything. This classes like 10 times more you learn.
Thank you. I did realize it was an opportunity to fellowship, so I appreciate you letting me know. Thank you.
And don't misunderstand. I mean, we would love to have you, but it's not practical. Get my point?
No, I realized that I have a senior in high school too, and I couldn't convince him to go with me, so I was gonna have to bow out anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. So have a wonderful weekend and see you next week.
Thank